Hello and welcome to the sports interview today. Today I have with us former Emory Henry soccer player Emily Welch. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, Emily, just tell me more about yourself and just how you became and how you joined Emory Henry soccer.
Okay. Well, I've actually only been at Emory for 2 years. I spent my first 2 years of college at Sweetbriar in Amherst, Virginia, and then I ended up transferring to Emory, and I played at Sweetbriar, so I was looking, when I transferred, to find another school that I could continue playing soccer, and Emory Henry ended up being the best fit for me.
Tell me, we all know Sweetbriar closed, and what was it like, having to transition from coming from one school in Sweetbriar to Emory Henry College?
Sure. So if you guys don't know, Sweetbriar is an all-women's college, so it's obviously very different from Emory. And I guess that transition was, a little bit weird. Kind of at first, it was just kind of a shock. I never really expected to attend a women's college, and I ended up going to Sweetbriar and loving it. And after the whole situation where they were going to didn't shut down, I decided to come to Emory anyway, and it was different, having guys in class, but I think I made the transition pretty well.
You talk about transitioning from Sweetbriar school to Emory Henry school and just the whole atmosphere of the college. Can you explain some of the differences and the transition coming from playing soccer at Sweetbriar to Emory Henry College, basically on the field and playing with different teammates?
Sure. The team at Sweetbriar, it's, probably kind of harder to get athletics at a women's college, because students that go to a women's college are more focused on, going for academics, and it's also a D3 school, so our team wasn't the best at Sweetbriar, because it was more of, girls and students that were more, academically inclined. So our team wasn't always the fittest, but, we had a lot of heart, and I've since played Sweetbriar because we're in the same ODAC conference, and the team there, still just has a lot of heart. They might not be, still the best because they're in their growing phases. And then coming to Emory, we do have a lot, I would say, better skill, better fitness, and kind of a more of a family group in this team.
Coming to Emory Henry College, I'm pretty sure it's kind of been a struggle. Haven't really been able to win a lot of games. You've been seeing more downs than ups. Things just haven't been going your way. Coming into this, coming to Emory Henry, what were some of your goals to help the team, get better and have, better success on the field?
Sure. So yeah, like you said, coming to Emory, I knew that our record wasn't the greatest, when I got here. And I wasn't really discouraged by that, because we were pretty much in the same scenario at Sweetbriar. But it's always our goal to improve that and make that better. So I just tried to do everything I could, to score goals and help our team, any way on and off the field, that could make us more committed and more dedicated to playing better. And I think the team's getting there. We're also in a growing process, and I think in the coming years, there's going to be a lot of good things coming from the team.
Going into, talking about, you just finished up your last season and you had an injury. Can you go into detail and tell us, how you overcame that injury and how you battled back to finish out your senior season?
Sure. So I had never really had a serious injury before, and it being my senior season, that was honestly pretty devastating for me. I tore my ACL at the end of September, the week before we started actual ODAC games, so I really didn't get to see any action in the ODACs. So it was pretty disappointing. And, you know, you go into your senior year, I guess, thinking this is your last year to play competitively. It's never really going to be the same after this. And then even so, that got cut short for me even more. And soccer is something that I've done forever, and it was just kind of hard to deal with that. But you know, it's been really great having, you know, my team behind my back the whole time, my family, athletic trainers, you know, everyone, just supporting me and making sure that I was getting through my rehab and doing everything in my power to overcome the injury and get back to where I am today. And I actually got to play my senior game a few minutes just to step on the field. And a lot of that was, I guess, due to doing rehab hard upon the injury and making it back to where I could at least step on the field and not get any more hurt than I was.
I got you. Well, that's always a good thing to get back on the field after an injury like that. Well, we all know, you know, Coach Lenderson Meister Guest, you know, stepped down from being the head coach of the women's soccer team. Tell me, you know, what will you learn? What did Coach Guest teach you, and how does it feel that she's gone?
So Coach Guest, she was a really good coach. She was a really great person. She taught us tons and tons of things, you know, on the field, but also off the field. And I really think that's something really important to have in a coach, that someone that cares about what happens on the field, but also what happens in our life. And she was always very concerned, you know, about how everything was going for everyone. And it was a really good, I guess, combination of how she treated her teammates. So it came, I guess, a little bit as a shock, but not so much when she did step down. I guess probably might have kind of saw it coming with her having had her baby, and knowing that she was in a transitional phase in her life. But I think it's been a good thing for her to have moved on and, you know, found something new that she's passionate about. But I think that also, you know, brings into play something that could be good for the team as well. She had been here for 5 years, and she had kind of brought the team to the point that she could bring it. And I think she, along with knowing that it was her time to find something new, that it was also going to be good for us to maybe find a new coach that could help take us even farther.
Last question I have for you, know, nothing, just really quick. What's one word that you think Emory and Henry needs to look for when trying to find a new coach?
One word. Well, I'd say a big part of what the women's soccer team describes themselves as family. So I'd probably say a coach that can continue to bring us together as a family and make big steps.
Well, Emily, you know, I'm thankful that you came on the show today, and I hope that everything goes well in your career. We will now send it over to Andrew McClung for the sports update.